Okay, so on the back side of this pump, in order to pull this powertrain out, we're going to have 2 through bolts that go into the power frame, and then we're going to have 2 jack bolts with jam nuts on them. Jam bolts with jam nuts. So when we're going to pull this train out, we have some rod with some nuts, 3/4 nuts tied to it, welded to it. And so what we'll do is we will thread these in to the power frame, and then we'll work it out.
This can get meticulous too, because if you get too much pressure on either corner, you'll break this bearing housing, and then you need a new bearing housing.
Powertrain removed. You see we got our inboard bearings here, and then we have our outboard bearings here. So what we're gonna do,
2 different styles of inboard bearing. This is a double. There's also a different style that is a single with a spacer. So you might see two different styles, but it's all going to be the same. Just wanted to make sure.
The spacer will always go shaft side.
okay. All right. So now we're gonna go ahead.
There's a paper gasket right here. Just make sure you move. It'll be the same color typically, but it gets hard to see. Don't forget that. And you will want to clean that face up.
Oh.
We're gonna keep these 2. So this is gonna be our impeller side, and this is gonna be our powertrain side. So they were backwards, but I mean, it could be a difference in manufacturer too. I mean, it's everybody's does a little stuff different. So
I do this because these are flimsy and you can get them cockeyed in there and they'll bend and it's trash after that. So the best thing I would tell you is a piece of strap metal that long. That way you can hit it and get a flush hit. But if not, I try to walk it in there. Put that in our toolbox.
some Mystic JT6 or equivalent, an NGL2. I'll coat this paper gasket, grease, nothing stupid, and just a thin coat. And we'll install it like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and install this two-ball bearing cover. What I like to do is snip these up. They're not super tight. I still want some play in that. And we go and install the power feed. So the next thing I'll do is I'll take a little and then there's a cup inside here between these two seals. And what I'll take this, I'll just put some grease. Some manufacturers have a greaser to access the port in between these two seals. Some of them don't. Some of them have greaser broken on. They're push style. Like here, you can see this manufacturer doesn't. It's got a set screw to plug that hole, but you could add one, I guess, if you wanted to. So I like to give it a good start by packing this thing off with some grease. And now, let's take a little bit of this anti-seize. I'm just going to coat lightly this sealing area between the outboard bearing cover and housing and power frame. Just like that. And I'm going to take this outboard bearing cover O-ring. Just to give ourselves a good surface to slide against. I will apply a little anti-seize in that area as well. I want to make sure that my bolts are lined up. We've got our 2 through bolts, and we got our 2 adjustment bolts. So everything looks pretty good.
Make sure your grease starts on top.
Yep, that is always a good standard of practice. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this outboard bearing cover off. with 16 bolts.
So it's trying to pump too much and it airs up inside the case.
Outboard bearing cover seal, same installation.
Without these, we wouldn't really be anything without the pumps.
Outboard bearing cover O-ring. Something like that. I like to take a little bit of grease, put it inside here. So now that that's done, back end of the pump's done. So we rechanged the inboard bearing cover seals, the inboard bearing cover gasket, the outboard bearing housing gasket O-ring, the outboard bearing cover O-ring, and the outboard bearing cover grease seal. Replaced all of our fasteners here and here. So now we are ready to start installing our fluid line.